You've been achieving so much. You're successful by every measure, but there's this feeling you can't shake. I hear it, like something's missing. And you keep thinking, what am I not doing? What behavior do I need to change? What habit do I need to add? But here's what I need you to understand and what I see. It's not a behavior that's missing. It's the inner guideline, the inner infrastructure that you have never established. The energetic architecture that holds everything you're building. And without it, no matter how much you achieve, it will never feel like enough. Because you're trying to build a palace, a queendom, on a foundation that has never been set. I'm Patty Ferreira, and today I'm going to show you what's actually been missing and why it matters more than ever and more than anything else you'll ever do. So here's what's happened. We've been led to believe that self-care is physical. It's rest, recovery, bubble baths, massages, and spa days. All the things you do to your body when it's breaking down from overwork. And look, those things feel nice and they help us recover. But you're not in self-care. You're in damage control. Because self-care was never meant to be physical. Self-care, it's energetic. It's the inner architecture, the foundational structure, the guidelines that govern how you move through life. Think about it. You can rest all you want, but if you don't have boundaries, you'll burn out again. You can take all the bubble baths in the world, but if you don't know your worth, you'll still accept less than you deserve. You can have spa days every weekend, but if you don't have standards, you'll still tolerate situations that drain you. Because physical recovery doesn't build energetic infrastructure. It just helps you survive a little longer on a foundation that's crumbling. And this is why high-achieving women keep asking what's missing. You're doing all the things. You're resting when you can. You're trying to take care of yourself, but it still doesn't feel sustainable because true self-care is energetic. And that's what's missing. It isn't behavior. It's the inner guidelines that will never clearly come through unless you establish them. The energetic building blocks that create true freedom and fulfillment. This is what I call the sovereign structure. This is what will actually hold everything that you desire. Not more hustle, not more achievement, not even more rest. But the foundational architecture that allows you to build something that lasts, that's sustainable. Let me tell you when I finally saw this and understood this as the difference in self-care physically, energetically. For most of my career, I was always working on success and achievement with no idea of the depth of self-care. None. To me, self-care was the prize you got at the end of a long journey or project. The thing you reached for when you were running on empty. A quick rest stop so you could get some energy and keep going. I thought that's what it was. Physical recovery, damage control, and then I experienced the passing of my mom. And in the grief, in the stillness that grief forced me into, I started asking different questions. Questions about the quality of my life. How we go so hard and gain so little. How we walk around with broken hearts and souls because we don't take care of ourselves energetically, not physically, energetically. And I started to see something I'd never seen before. Self-care requires energetic building blocks, inner guidelines, and foundational pieces. The architecture that helps us live higher trajectories and move into freedom and fulfillment. And once I saw that, everything changed. Because I realized I've been trying to build a queendom on a foundation I had never set. I never established my baselines, my standards, or my boundaries. I never built that structure. I just kept achieving and recovering, building higher and higher on quicksand, and wondering why it kept crumbling. So, if that's where you're at, I need you to hear this. You don't need another productivity hack. You don't need another goal. You need a foundation, an energetic structure. This is your inner energetic architecture. And it's what self-care was always meant to be. Caring for self before it got diluted into bubble baths and face masks. Think of your life as a house. And the sovereign structure, that's not the furniture. It's not the decoration. It's the floors, the walls, the ceilings. It's the structure itself, the bones. And depending on the quality of this foundation, you'll either be living in a dungeon or in a palace. Let me show you what this really means and how this translates from self-care to energetic care. Your floors are your baseline. It's your self-value. This is what you will not go below. When your floors are solid, you know exactly where you stand. You have standards, you have a baseline, and you don't accept treatment that dishonors that. You don't tolerate situations that deplete you. You don't say yes to opportunities that are beneath your floors, your values. Because your floor is set and you don't go below it. But when your floors aren't established, when you don't know what your baseline is, you're walking on shaky ground. You accept clients who don't pay you what you're worth. You stay in relationships where you're not valued. You tolerate disrespect because you never decided this is my minimum. And here's what happens when you establish your floor. Now you can negotiate from a place of strength because you're not desperate. You're not hoping someone sees your values or honors your value. You know your value and your floor reflects it. That's the baseline that allows for more. Now let's talk about your walls. These are your boundaries. This is about protection. Your walls are your boundaries. What's in, what's out. What's your yes, what's your no. This is what protects your time, your energy, your space. When your walls are strong, you have a container. You can hold what's yours without it leaking out to everyone else's demands. You can say no without guilt. You can protect your evenings, your weekends, your creative time, because your walls define what belongs to you and what doesn't. But when your walls are missing, everyone has access. Everyone is setting the parameters. You're answering emails at 11 p.m. because you never said after what time you're off. You're taking on everyone's problems because you never built a boundary around your energy. You're exhausted because there's no protection. And here's what happens when you build your walls. Now you can say yes without resentment. Because your yes isn't coming from obligation or fear. It's coming from choice. It's coming from a place where you took care and protected yourself. And those boundaries allow for more. Now let's talk about the windows, clarity. Your windows are your clarity. What you let in, what you can see, your vision for your life. This is how you perceive yourself and what's possible. When your windows are clean, you can see clearly. You know what you want, what aligns and what doesn't. You make decisions from a place of clarity, not fog. But when your windows are clouded, you can't see what you actually desire. You say yes to opportunities that look good on paper but don't feel right. You follow someone else's path because you can't see your own. You're making decisions from confusion, not clarity. And here's what happens when you clean those windows. Now you can pursue what actually fulfills you. Not what you think you should want, but what you do want. That's the clarity that allows for more. And that energetic clarity comes from within. Let's talk about your doors and your choices. Your doors are your choices. What you open, what you close, what gets access. This is your agency, your power to decide. When you control your doors, you're the one choosing. Not everyone gets a key to your house. Not every opportunity gets a yes. You decide what comes in. You decide what stays out. But when you don't control your doors, people walk in uninvited. Situations happen to you instead of being chosen by you. You're reacting instead of deciding. And here's what happens when you control your doors. Now you can invite in what actually serves you and close the door on what doesn't, what isn't aligned. And you don't have to give an explanation. That's the agency that allows for more. And when we look at your ceilings, which equal your potential, your capacity, how high you believe you can go, what you think is possible for you. This is your upper limit. This is your higher capacity. When your ceiling is high, you get to dream big. You go for opportunities that stretch you. You believe you're capable of more. But when your ceilings are low, you're playing small. You don't even consider the next level because you don't believe the structure can hold it. You stay where it's safe, where it's known. And here's what happens when you raise your ceilings. Now you can hold the vision that's calling you, that higher trajectory, the bigger life, the expanded version, the thing you've been afraid to want. That's the capacity that allows for more. This is the sovereign structure. Your floors, your walls, your windows, your doors, and your ceilings. This is what self-care actually is. Not bubble baths, but the energetic architecture that holds your life, the infrastructure. And that's what's been missing. This is what we get to dedicate some self-care around. Now, let me tell you why this matters so much for high-achieving women specifically. Because you've been operating without this structure your entire life, and you've still achieved, you've still succeeded. But it's cost you everything. Your peace, your joy, your health, your relationships. You've been building without a foundation. And the higher you build, the harder it is to sustain. Here's what I see with high-achieving women especially. You think the problem is that you're not working hard enough, so you work harder. You think the problem is that you're not doing enough, so you do more. But the problem isn't effort, it's structure, infrastructure, inner build. You don't have the inner guidelines to hold what you're building. You don't have the standards that protect your worth. You don't have the boundaries that protect your energy. You don't have clarity about what you actually want. You don't have agency over your choices. You don't believe you're capable of more. So you achieve and achieve and achieve, but it never feels like enough because the structure underneath can't hold it. And this is why the sovereign structure matters so much for you. It's what will hold your new desires. It's what will hold the higher trajectory, the next level you're reaching for. the bigger vision, the expanded life, the version of success that includes freedom and fulfillment, not just achievement. You can't build that on a weak foundation. You need structure, and that's what this is all about. So how do you build this structure? Here's where we start. And this is the hardest part for high achieving women, because everything in you has been trained to put yourself last, to prioritize everyone else's needs first, to make sure everyone else is taken care of before you even consider your own needs. But that's exactly why your foundation is weak, because you never put yourself in the equation. So here's the first rule of building the sovereign structure. You go first. Not everyone else, you. And that means two things. One, you do the inner work first, and your world will reorganize. When you build your structure, when you set your floors, build your walls, clean your windows, control your doors, raise your ceiling, everything around you shifts. Not because you're controlling other people, but because you're no longer available for what doesn't honor your structure. People who don't respect your boundaries naturally fall away. Opportunities that don't align become obvious no's. Your world reorganizes around the foundation you've built. Number two, your truth, your thoughts, and your desires are priority, not everyone else's. This doesn't mean you don't care about others. It means you care about yourself first. So you can show up for others from fullness and not depletion. And let me tell you something. Let me tell you what's true. This is the hardest thing you'll do, because we've been conditioned to believe that putting ourselves first is selfish, that our needs don't matter as much, that self-sacrifice is noble. But self-sacrifice isn't noble. It's self-abandonment. And when you put yourself first, when you build your structure, when you establish your foundation, everything changes. How you see yourself changes, and you start to see yourself as worthy, as valuable, as deserving. The space you give yourself changes. You give yourself permission to think, to dream, to desire more. How you relate to others changes. You're no longer coming from lack or resentment. You're coming from fullness, from presence, from wholeness. And at the end of it, you have clarity, confidence, and courage. Clarity about what you want, confidence in your ability to build it, and courage to actually do it. That's what happens when you build the sovereign structure. That's what happens when you finally understand this piece. Self-care isn't physical recovery. It's energetic architecture. And you go first. So let me give you the practical steps to build this, because this isn't abstract. It's real work, like chop wood, carry water work. Step 1, set your floors, establish your standards. Sit down and ask yourself, what is my baseline? What will I no longer accept? What treatment, what pay, what situations? Write it down and be very specific. This is my minimum standard. I don't go below this. For example, I will not work with clients who don't value my expertise. That's your floor, and now you hold it. Step 2, build your walls. Set the boundaries. Ask yourself, what needs protection? What time is mine? What energy do I need to reserve? Then communicate it without apology. I don't take calls after 6 p.m. I need Sundays completely off. I'm not available for last-minute requests. That's your wall. Now enforce it. Step 3, clean your windows. And that means get clear on your vision. Ask yourself, what do I actually want? not what I think I should want, not what would make everyone else happy. What do I want? Get quiet, get honest, write it down, even if it scares you. That's your window. Now see through it clearly. Step 4, control your doors, which means own your choices. Ask yourself, who and what gets access to me? Not everyone deserves a key. Decide who comes in, decide what you say yes to, and own your choices unapologetically. That's your door. Now control it. Expand your potential. You can ask yourself, what am I capable of that I'm not allowing myself to reach for? What becomes possible if I believed I deserved it? Then expand that belief and stretch it. Your structure can hold more than you think. That's your ceiling. Now lift it. This is how you build the sovereign structure. This is how you create the foundation that's missing. And honestly, when you build this, everything changes. Not just what you achieve, but how it feels when you achieve it. If you're sitting here realizing I've been building without a foundation, you're not alone. Most high achieving women have, because we were never taught this. We were taught to achieve, to produce, to perform, but we were never taught to build inner structure that holds it all. So here's what I want you to do. Pick one piece of your foundation to work on this week. Just one. Do you need to set your floors, establish a standard you won't go below? Do you need to build a wall, set a boundary you've been avoiding? Do you need to clean your windows? Get clear on what you actually want. Not the shoulds, not the to-dos, not the expectations, what your soul wants. Do you need to control your doors? Decide who gets access. Do you need to raise your ceiling? Expand what you believe is possible. Pick one and start there. Build that energetic castle. Because this is the work that will hold your new desires. This is the foundation that will allow you to build something that lasts. And if you want support in building your sovereign structure, I have 2 invitations. First, join the free 21-day Season of Self-Love Challenge. We spend 21 days building this foundation together. Not bubble baths, real structural work. The link is going to be in the bio. Second, if you're ready for ongoing support, join Awakened and Rising. It's my $30 per month membership where we build the sovereign structure together every single week. The link will also be in the description. But whether you join or not, hear this. What's been missing isn't behavior. It's the inner infrastructure you never established, the energetic architecture that holds everything. And you've been trying to build a palace, a queendom on quicksand. It's time to build a strong foundation. Not later, not when things calm down, now. Because the quality of your foundation determines what you build and how high you build. And you deserve a palace, a castle. So let's build it. If this landed for you, hit subscribe. I post new videos every Thursday. And if you know another high achieving woman who's been asking what's missing, send this to her. Because sometimes we need someone to show us it's not a behavior we're missing. It's the foundation we never set. I'll see you next week.